My Aunt Trotty was a remarkable, if somewhat repellent woman. She had a fling with Eiffel of Tower fame, but that's neither here nor there. All my family have been Francophiles to some degree. Aunt Trotty's sister, who also happened to be my mother, spent many happy years during and after the Blitz, cycling through Soho with a string of onions round her neck, calling "Vive la Revolution" to any soldiers or call girls who'd listen. She later became a bluebell dancer, but got deported from Los Angeles when they discovered she was rather short in the leg department. Apparently her splendid thighs had shrunk during the crossing, something to do with excessive levels of salt in the Atlantic air. The newspapers were rather beastly about it, which led to poor Ma hitting the bottle and getting pregnant with me. I believe both things happened at St. Martin's in the Fields. She was always a little vague about it. But I gathered 2 men were involved, one a down and out, but rather thrilling to think that might have been Orwell, but I fancy not. The other was a man of the cloth. One of them got rather too cosy with Ma, the other like some somewhat shambling knight-errant coming to her rescue not quite in the nick of time. But she did assure me that whatever had occurred in the crypt was at her own inebriated request. Which man played which role has never quite been sorted out, which leads me to suspect I had clergyman's genes. My mother would undoubtedly have preferred her daughter to have been fathered by a down and out, and would I fear have boasted loudly had that been the case. I've always adored my mother, indeed been in awe of her, simultaneously disliking her quite intensely and being irritated to kettle screaming point on a number of occasions. But fortunately, being a biscuit heiress, my mother was always able to afford houses with more than one wing. She was too bohemian to believe in furniture, which was an asset too. It meant one could barge about, stamping and screaming for the best part of the day without meeting anyone. Terrific echo, first-class acoustics. Of course, as a committed socialist, Ma kept a dishevelled flat above a Camberwell fishmonger's as well. Did most of her socialising from there. She was something of a parrot, fearfully good with accents. Used to do a phenomenal de Gaulle, I recall, and a very beguiling Ted Heath. Both came in useful on occasion, but Cockney was her true forte. Put her in a flat cap, double knit cardigan over overalls, walk her to a Covent Garden market stall in the wee small hours, and the world was her oyster. It never failed. She'd be back in no time, crate of oranges under one arm, sack of Brussels in her dungarees. She was one of them, you see. One of the big disadvantages of being born to a talented mother is one feels dwarfed, weighed down by the awful charisma of her personality. I mean, she could stand in Piccadilly Circus and shout, "An end to capitalist imperialism," or "I've lost the suspender, have any of you chaps seen it?" And she would immediately be swamped by a vast mob of charming men. She couldn't keep them, but by golly, she could get a reaction.